slow down. Today, we have celebrity stylist Lauren Messiah. She is revolutionizing the way people dress through her comprehensive approach to elevating one's life through style, working from the inside out. With her signature method of combining style with personal development, Lauren bridges personal styling and life coaching to curate a closet and look that supports one's goals and takes the stress and self-doubt out of looking one's best. The stylist, educator, and digital influencer has coached over 5,000 clients globally through her online courses, leaning on her personal journey of self-discovery through fashion and her years of being one of the most sought-after celebrity stylists. Lauren recently released her latest book, Style Therapy, 30 Days to Your Signature Style, as a 30-day active approach to building a personal style and shedding emotional baggage. Through her book, she empowers readers to shop like a stylist, find clothes that support goals, and build confidence to tackle any situation with the right look and attitude. Welcome, Lauren. It's so nice to meet you.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I love the book. It's beautiful, the pictures, we're going to get into that. But my first question is, so as my experience through yoga, I have found that people find their way into self-transformation either through a life event or maybe finding themselves at a crossroads in their life. What was your transformative path that led you into coaching?
There was lots of transformative moments. I'd say related to style. My big moment was, I was 28 years old and I had recently reset my life. I left my full-time job. I'd just gotten sober and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business. Like, I'm going to do this thing. So I go out and I'm all excited, but I'm still dressing like my former self, party girl clothes, looking very much like a 20-something. And I was hitting so many roadblocks where I was being disrespected. People kept mistaking me for an assistant. And I felt stuck. And I kind of looked in the mirror and was like, wait, it's you. Like, you're the problem.
Imagine that. It comes back to us being the problem.
Right? Because there's so many things that it could be blamed on. It's like, oh, because I'm a woman, because I'm a woman of color, because I'm young. It's like, no, look at me. I'm not looking the part of someone who's successful. And I also didn't believe that I was someone who could be successful. So I had been working with clients one-on-one, for quite some time. And I'm like, wait, I was transforming them because I would look in their closets and be like, you're the SVP of this company. Why are you wearing like Banana Republic from 1993?
Well, Ann Taylor Loft.
Right. And then I looked in the mirror. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not dressing like the woman that I want to be. So I made myself over. And because I'm such a personal development junkie and I had just kind of, started this journey with sobriety and everything else, I kind of combined forces and made myself over. And my whole life turned around. Like, my business skyrocketed, my confidence increased. So that was kind of my moment to put me into the kind of work that I do today.
Well, and what a hugely vulnerable moment to take a look at yourself and be like, wait a minute, I'm the problem. I mean, which is the reality for 100% of the people out there, but it takes a lot of guts to sit and be like, okay, yeah, it's me. I mean, that's pretty transformative, especially at 28, which is, relatively young. And
yeah.
So what's the connection with our outward appearance and style and how we present ourselves to the world, and as it relates to what may or may not be going on inside, emotionally, mentally, the chatter that's in our mind? What's the correlation between the two?
Yeah, well, I always say, to my clients, I'm like, what's on the outside is a visual representation of what's going on the inside. It's like a manifestation of how you think about yourself, how life is going. I mean, look at us collectively through the pandemic. Everybody's wearing sweatpants, everybody's eating snacks, everybody's gaining weight. Like, we were all in this comfort coping time, and it manifested collectively on the outside. So that also happens on an individual level as well. If you think that you're not worthy, you're not going to dress in a way that's worthy. If you think that you're not you're not good enough. You think, oh no, I'm just like this young, wild person. This is how I'm supposed to look. People should like me for me. But then you get the results of that. So when you go inward and figure out like, wait, who am I? What do I want? And start to believe that, then naturally you're going to catch up with your style. Like everyone, I think, has an inherent wanting to represent themselves well and to look good. They can fight it and say fashion's silly, it's superficial.
Or I don't matter what it looks like on the outside.
Right. Yeah. But everybody loves it when they get a compliment. Everybody walks a little taller when they know they look good. And it's not about being a fashion plate. I could, give a crap about trends or anything else. It's really about how you feel and what you're embodying.
I love it. And did you find, because I come at this time and time again, and we talk to other coaches and people that are working with CEOs, and like you said, senior vice presidents, a lot of women that just don't credit themselves enough. We have that in the workforce. We're not asking for higher pay. We're not asking for the promotion. We're handed jobs and we're like, thank you, without, asking for what we deserve. And that was absolutely represented in how they were dressing. So when you changed over those clients, did you see like promotions, success happening in their lives?
Oh yeah. And that's why I loved doing it. So just like a quick rewind, when I went to school for fashion design and, I thought that's what I wanted to do. And turns out it wasn't, it doesn't pay well. It's annoying. It's not glamorous. And I worked retail and I would dress, which was like a huge disappointment. Like I went to school, went to college. It was like, now I work at the mall that I used to hang out at.
Womp, womp, womp.
Right. Like total like loser. But I loved the experience because I enjoyed dressing women and kind of fantasizing about where that outfit would take them in their life. But I didn't know that dressing everyday women could be a career outside of retail. So I moved into celebrity styling. And I started to work, on music videos, on magazine shoots, all of these things, all of this celebrity crap. And turns out I hated it.
What's kind of fantasy land, right? It's not reality. And when you're on a music video set, it's like a one shot. You're not really transforming someone's life with a red carpet outfit or a music video shoot that isn't reality.
Exactly. It's part of their job. So the gratification that I got when I worked retail of people like, oh my gosh, I love this outfit. I feel so good. I did not get that with celebrity styling. So that's why I changed my career and was like, you know what? I'll give the celebrity treatment to everyday women. I will shop for them just like I did with my celebrity clients. I will set up a beautiful fitting just like I did with the celebrity clients. And I'll dress them and I'll make them feel good for a day because that's my experience for celebrity styling. It was the day. But what I found was clients were coming back to me and they're like, oh, I got a promotion. I got engaged. I tripled my income. I'm like, ooh, I love the ripple effect of what the clothing does for them. So it didn't matter if my client had no budget and I had to go get all her clothes at Target and H&M, or if she had all the money in the world and I'm shopping on Rodeo Drive. The intention behind the clothing and the confidence it gave her changed her whole freaking life.
Yeah, the transformation is there.
Right?
Are you the only stylist that's really connecting this coaching aspect with styling that's out there? Because it seems like I interviewed someone who was connecting coaching with home decorating, and how our home represents what's going on in the inside. And if it's full of clutter, your mind's probably full of clutter. But the same thing. And when you talk about being 28 and dressing like the party girl and walking into meetings and business, meetings and lunches and not getting respect, that says a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny now that I've been doing this for a minute, there's definitely, other stylists are like, what's she doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to do that too. But it's like, you have to feel it in your bones. Like you have to experience it, because even when I styled women in person, which I don't do anymore, I would need to get to know them on a deeper level to be able to dress them like themselves. So when you're a celebrity stylist, there's the publicist and the management, and they're like, this is a look we're going for. You're dressing them up like a doll. But when you're doing personal styling, you have to dress them like themselves, because Exactly. My clients would always be so fearful. Every consultation, they'd say, okay, I want a makeover, but I don't want it to look like I got a makeover, because they don't want to go back to their regular lives. And people are like, oh, okay. Like, who do you think you are?
It's getting a little hot in the pants there, girl.
Right? Like, you going through something, midlife crisis, what's happening? But when you can dress them like themselves, just better, they ease into it. And it just changes the whole energy. So in order for me to do that and not be a stylist, it's like, ooh, yellow's so hot this season, let's put you in some yellow. Yes, girl. Be like, no, who are you at a core level? And I know how to dig that information out because of my own path and continued path of self-discovery. I can read people. I can vibe them out. I can draw things out of them. And then I just see it in clothing. So it's a gift that has to be cultivated. And people are like, oh yeah, I'll just like tell you how to live. Like, no, that's not what I'm doing.
No, because you have to do your own work and show up authentically. I mean, people will call you on your shit. If you're trying to help them in life and you're still, stuck in the past or working on a big pile of your own mess that you haven't addressed. I mean, there's no way to really be in a teacher position and take that role and inspire people if you're stuck.
Right.
You don't get to just pick up and tell people how to live their lives if your life is a hot ass mess over here.
Right. And it cracks me up because, people see on Instagram and they're like, oh, like she's a stylist, like come style me. I'm like, well, we got to do all this inner work as well. They're like,
no, thanks.
Yeah. They're like, I already did the inner work. I'm like, no, there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as I already did it. You're always doing it. And if your life keeps elevating, new challenges come in. You have to elevate your inner self and your outer self.
100%. Do you ever get to the point, I've been here in yoga and I was like, I don't want to be a better person. I just want to be shitty. It's so hard. But it's like the knowing, once you get on the path of the knowing, you can never unknow. There is no way to ever go back to be your former self. My 25-year-old self, God rest her soul, but it's hard to show up and want to keep elevating and doing your best every day.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like a gift and a curse. Like once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. And sometimes when that leveling up gets really difficult and really uncomfortable, you're like, why can't I just be a normal person?
I'm just going to eat my cheese sandwich at my desk and not think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true because it would be so dissatisfying and boring, but also the status quo. Like it would be the same all the time, which wouldn't push you to do anything. But, you're on this path for a reason. Right. Like you were chosen, you're doing the work, you're on the journey. But yeah, it is not easy. So I get the people that are like, no, I just want an outfit.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, well, and I'm like, cool, go do that somewhere else. And then inevitably it sinks in. It's just like with anything, you could read a spiritual book, you could go to yoga, and until it clicks for you, it just won't make sense. You can say it 80,000 times, but one day they'll be like, oh, like I have a community called Style Confidence Collective, and we have a book club. So we read spiritual books, we read style books, we read all kinds of books. So I had them reading a book by Michael A. Singer and The Surrender Experiment. Oh my gosh, that book pissed those girls off so bad. And I was like, when it needs to make sense, it will make sense. And then I got a DM from a girl like 3 months later. She's like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're ready, you'll be ready
and I think the students that show up to you are the ones that are ready for what you have to say. I mean, I feel like that as a yoga teacher. And I had a yoga master tell me one time, he's like, I'm an irritator. I'm meant to shake things up and irritate you and kind of push your buttons. And then you get to see yourself and be like, oh yeah, I see what's going on in the head. I see how I'm reacting to that. And it's this, again, even with style, with everything you're doing with coaching, it's this path of awareness.
Yep.
And self-awareness, which most people don't have. Or if you've been in the line at Whole Foods or Starbucks around the holidays, you realize people lack complete self-awareness. But those aren't the people that are going to be connected to you and want to take on that style journey with you and that life journey.
True. So true.
Yeah.
I love that. The irritator. I like
the irritator. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm real irritated by you right now. Can we stop doing this pose? Like my legs are shaking. I'm pouring in sweat. Why are we still here?
Right.
Like, you're irritating me. So job well done. All right, let's get into the book. It's incredible. Style therapy, 30 days to your signature style. So I love right out of the gate, you start with like this selfie challenge, right? And you get, it's like for what, a week?
Yep.
A selfie every day. What was the point of that? As many selfies as we all take, but what was the point of starting with this challenge?
Right. Well, you know, what was funny? It's so funny how things come to be and they end up being more powerful than you ever imagined. So when I stopped doing in-person styling, you know, I couldn't handle the client load anymore. I started to transition into online services. I'm like, but I can't go into their closet because cleaning out someone's closet, the closet tells so much. It's not about like, ew, look at the clothes. It's like, no, I know how you feel about yourself by what's in your closet. If you are a size 6 and your closet's full of size 10s, like either you're hiding or your mind hasn't caught up with how your body has transformed. I mean, I can just tell so much. So in order for me to be able to gather that information, I'm like, oh, I'll just have them take selfies because I can tell so much from their body language and I can ask them how they felt. I can ask them how they were perceived. So I did it just for my business. And then I realized that the selfie challenge was so much more powerful because so many women, they don't look at themselves. It's weird to me, I guess, because I'm a fashion person, but so many of my clients don't own full-length mirrors. I'm like, are you?
They don't like what they see.
Exactly.
You know, we vote off our body island at some point along the way. Someone gave us a negative compliment. We had kids, shit starts sagging because that's just the way it goes. You know, you're like, I'm just not going to visit that island anymore. You know,
yeah,
it's sad because this is the body. This is the human experience that we're having. We have to have it in this body. That's all we have.
Right. So I'm like, they weren't looking. So when I did the selfie challenge, and because not only are people afraid to look in a mirror, taking a damn picture, what? So I make them take the picture and actually see themselves. And I have them write down how they felt. We don't need to overanalyze if you're trendy or not. Like, how do you feel? And how did other people perceive you? And my clients would come back and be like, that was the most eye-opening experience because themselves, they're reflecting back. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm hiding behind baggy clothes because I still haven't dealt with trauma that happened when I was 11 years old. Or, oh my God, I look exhausted. Or when did I gain this extra weight? Like, what is happening? Like, oh my God, I don't look like, an executive director. I look like a hot damn mess. So I don't need to tell them that. The reflection told it to them themselves. And that piece of self-awareness allows you to continue on the journey. Because sometimes you just have to be sick of yourself.
Yeah. Amen.
It's even with like weight gain, like the pandemic, a lot of people gained, some extra pounds. You're like, well, it's okay. I'm coping. It's fine. And then one day when that button doesn't button, you're like, okay, enough.
Right.
Enough.
I need to take some serious self-control.
Right. And so looking in the mirror and be like, wow, enough. Like I'm dressing like crap. So that's where the journey really begins. It's a powerful exercise that started just out of utility for myself and ended up being so much more powerful.
I love that it grew into that because it's like our perception is our reality. So it's really what we're taking in. So if we look at ourselves the same day or we don't look at ourselves, we're not really seeing how we're presented to the world. Like I always would love, like I always visualize myself at like my funeral and kind of flying over and being like, what would everyone say? Which would be kind of cool to be able to kind of, and yoga had this experience of where you were able to kind of go out and look inward and be like, oh, okay, got some shit to work on. But that selfie challenge is like that instant. It's that moment in reality. Like you can't hide from that. It's not skewed by your own perception or values or what you may think or not think about yourself or even what others really think. It's really like, here's the reality of how you're presenting yourself to the world in this moment.
Exactly. And then, I tie in how did other people perceive you? Because then you can connect the dots. And like, I'm a big journaler. So there's a lot of like journaling activity happening in the book, but it's like, I didn't look great. I didn't feel great. And like everybody ignored me that day. Like nobody held the door open for me. Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Look how the world reacts to how I react to myself. And it starts to make sense.
Well, and I think the other piece is that they don't necessarily, like prior to that moment, they wouldn't have necessarily noticed if someone didn't open the door for them or didn't, look at them when they ordered coffee or, all the things, because we're just, head down, going through our life without really participating in any way. We're living in our head, we're not in the moment. And so I love that you really right out of the gate push them outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah. You got to get uncomfortable if you want to change. You know this.
Yeah. It is. I've met some discomfort along the way. That's for sure. For sure. And I love what you said. You got Drake in there. You're like, I started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? There's always some place to go. And if I look back, I started my career really young at 19 and I was wearing like express suits with tails. It was like a cream tail suit. And that's where I like met my husband. And I just thought he was short and Jewish and he thought I had bad style. And here we are 18 years later, right? So if you haven't come along some way, since where you've gone, but I think this is great to start with this. And then at the end of the 30 days, they're able to have like an absolute place, a reference point of like, this is how I felt about myself, to just start the journey. And in 30 days, like you're not talking about 3 years, or even, 60 days, but it's like, that's the beginning point. And look how I've changed.
Yeah.
And there's actual like data that they can go back to.
Right. Because when, being on a transformational journey, we often can't see our own transformation. You're like, I've been doing this forever. Like I'm still the same. And other people are like, you're so different. You're like, am I? But when you can document it and you can see your progress, I think it encourages you to keep going, keep transforming because it never ends. It never ends.
Right. And I love that it's such a starting off point and it's that 30 days, right? Make it a habit, but you can start to see some real life changes of how you relate to the world, how you relate to yourself, how you feel about yourself. I mean, and like you said, you journal throughout the book so they can go back and be like, okay, this picture matched up with these feelings and, how has that changed? And I love it because people will stick with something. I think if they start to see and really notice results, like losing weight slowly, you may not notice until all of a sudden you're down a pant size or whatever that would be. You talked about the, spiritual, emotional, mental transformation. It's when people are like, yeah, you're not. My sister will love to tell me, it's like, yeah, you were really mean. I was like, okay. All right. I know, but I'm not now. All right. I'm 40 now. It's taken me a long time. I get it. I know. She's like, yeah, I couldn't even talk to you about that. I was like, all right, got it. But it is slow because it's a little bit every day.
Yep.
I love it. So you say, change your style, change your life. Do you think it's that easy?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's funny because even in my own like videos and things, I'm like, don't take that phrase too literally, but it's, it's what is involved in the way that I change people's style that does change your life, which you can't just go to the mall and pick out new clothes and go on a shopping spree and be like, yeah, life has changed. It's the intention behind the change. It's the steps that get you on the path to the right kind of style change. And absolutely, it can change your life. You just got to do it the right way.
Well, and it's a little bit of like manifestation, whether it's mantra, positive manifestations, you're calling the person you want to be into your life through style. Eckhart Tolle does it with positive affirmations. I mean, people do it in all kinds of different ways, but you really are, I imagine, thinking about the kind of person that you want to become. Where do you want to work? How much money do you want to make? What kind of relationships do you want to have? And then designing that person with your outward style. And it is a little like fake it till you make it, which I think in all things, that's why you wake up and like the first thing I'll do is like smile. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a good day,
Right.
But it's putting that intention out there. Like I'm meeting the day with a smile, no matter what comes up.
Yeah. And I think, if you do the inner work and you do the inner work properly, it kind of takes out a lot of the the fake of it, because it's like, all right, if I envision myself to be this woman who, runs an empire, like, yeah, maybe I don't run the empire now, but what are the qualities of that woman? She's smart, she's driven, she never gives up, she's polished. That's you, right? Like, you haven't got the massive achievement yet, but that's you at your core. So why would you dress as someone who's sloppy, lazy, tired, irritable? Embody the person you already are, so she can get the thing. It's like the be, do, have. I call it wear, do, have. So it's embodying. Like, I love, Dr. Joe Dispenza, all his meditations around like feeling like you already have it. That's a huge part about manifestation, where you can't feel it and then look like trash. You got to embody the whole thing. So it's not a lie. It's just, no one's brave enough to do it because they're so afraid of judgment. And I think people really know deep, deep down what they're capable of, but they don't want other people to be like, who do you think you are?
What's scary as shit? It's real vulnerable,
right?
To really start acknowledging that you are something and that you are intelligent and capable and, all of these really wonderful qualities. And we've also been taught, smash down the ego. Ego is bad. I mean, ego is just the existence of us on the outside world. Right. Everyone has one. You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
We got to drop a little humility. And I think if we believed in ourselves more, but we are so afraid of what other people said. And we could all, I imagine most of the people listening could go back to a moment in childhood or adolescence or early 20s when someone said something to you.
Oh, yeah.
That sparked this lifetime reel of negative thinking. And my dad was like, oh, you're a good eater, which meant you're fat and you're stop eating so much. And it was like, oh my God, that messed with me. It was like one moment at 7.
Yep.
And someone could pinpoint, someone said something. They called me an Oompa Loompa in 6th grade and I wore orange. I don't think I wore orange for like the next 2 decades.
Yep.
6th grade. I'm like 12 years old, but it sticks with you. And I know everyone out there listening probably be like, yep, I had that moment.
Oh yeah. And I make you unearth that moment in the book. I tell a story about my grandmother had made a comment about my legs when I was, young. I can't remember, 10, somewhere around that age. Dude, I like never wore shorts. It took me till I was 36 years old to be like, all right, it's hot enough. Let's put on some damn shorts. Let's tackle these body image issues. Now at 40, I'm like, you can't stop me from wearing shorts.
Right. It's good to be 40. It's good to be 40. I wouldn't go back to be 25-year-old Jess for love nor money. No.
Listen, 20-something Lauren was a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
Hot mess.
Real hateful. I was real hateful.
Oh my gosh. That was like my catchphrase. Sometimes I'll still bring it back out of like, I hate people. No, but I like lived by that mantra.
100%. My sister even said to me, she's like, well, you didn't like people, remember? And you definitely didn't like children. And I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right. I know I'm antisocial.
Right. I didn't like animals. Like now I love animals. Like my pets are my children. I'm like, who was I? Like, who was that person? So yeah, I would never go back. Ever.
Amen to that. So what do you think is something that you want the listeners to know about their personal style? Is it okay? Like trends, they come and go. Like I talk about, someone's like, we had to get rid of the side hair part, but what if you have a calic? Not everything is for you, right? It's part of like knowing yourself. I had a stylist that came to my closet, threw out, I don't know, mounds, probably 4 or 5 feet high of, he would pull this out and it's like, Jessica, this has no story for you. I was like, okay, well, I don't know. I thought it was cute. But what did you think is a takeaway that you want someone to think about their style?
If you dress like you're always in style. Legit. Like some of my favorite outfits are years and years old. Like I have things in my closet that are like 12 years old and they still look good and I still get compliments. The rest of my stuff, a lot of it's vintage. It doesn't matter. It's not on trend. When I get interviewed about trends, like what's hot or not, I'm like, I don't know.
Right, because they're meant to come and go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if you're drawn to something from the right place, right? If you know who you are, you know who you want to be, where you're going, you will be drawn to the right things. And when you have the confidence, you'll be able to pull it off. So you literally can ignore trends. Like, just don't even play that game. If there's something that you like, then go for it. But you don't have to. Like, be you. When you own, like, the biggest icons in the world in terms of style, think about like a Lady Gaga, a Rihanna, like even Celine Dion. They're not following any rules. They're breaking all the rules, but they've got that confidence and like self-assuredness. They just own whatever.
And we're like, oh my God, I didn't know you could mix paisley and flowers and goth. And it's like, whoa. It's like, they're just pulling shit. You could just make anything work, which I think is,
And everyone has the power to do that. They think they have to be born with some sort of like fashion wizardry. My clients dress incredibly well, and I don't pick out their clothes. I just guide them into knowing how to do all this themselves. So it means you can do it too.
I love that.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the trends, right? They're meant to come and go. And not all of them are for you. I mean, that's the point. Like, all the half tops situations that are going on right now, it's just not really, for me at 40 with 4 kids. It's probably not the trend for me.
Yeah, I know. Low rise pants are coming back, and exposed G-strings. No.
Yeah, no.
I've already done that once. We don't need to do it again.
Right. We already said we're not going back to our 20s.
Yeah,
for sure. So what do you think is like the most important piece in your closet? Do you have one?
Ooh, the most important piece. That's a tough question, because there's important pieces I think that every woman needs. And in the book, I have my ultimate wardrobe checklist. So that was one of my biggest mistakes early on when I was that 20s, 28 into my early 30s. Like, I mean, it took me, listen, my moment of disrespect, that took a while before I like woke up and was like, it's me, So in that period, I didn't have any clothes that went together because I was, a shopaholic. It'd be, oh my God, I'm going to the club. I have to like get a new outfit. Nothing went together. If something came up, I had to buy a new outfit. I was in a ton of debt. So I realized I had to build a foundational wardrobe of things that could go with more exciting pieces. So I'm like, ooh, a white blouse. Yeah, I need one of those. Like, ooh, a black blazer. Like the stuff that's boring. Those end up being the most important pieces in your wardrobe. A great pair of jeans, black pumps, although heels and I are not friends anymore after this pandemic.
After the pandemic where we only wore house slippers. I know. Yeah. I went to go put on shoes today and I was like, I'm just going to put flats on. And now I'm only looking for more flats because I have a whole closet full of heels that I can't wear. I walk like a baby duck or fawn or something.
I know. I'm like, did my arches fall? Like, what's going on here? I don't understand. But it's those kind of staple pieces that we don't get the emotional rush when we buy it. That's the stuff that's going to be our best friend in our wardrobe that we're going to wear all the time,
And those are pieces that you can spend a little bit more money on, right? Yes. That you can, you're going to come back to season after season in those pieces, not going with the trends and the big buckles or the big this or that or all the poppy, stuff that looks great on the rack, but going with something simple, classic. I mean, you can throw a black blazer on. I mean, I'm a white t-shirt and jeans and pumps kind of a gal. Like that's my staple. I love little t-shirt and jeans, throw on a little blazer or leather jacket or something. That's good.
And it keeps those meltdowns at bay because I'm sure every woman listening at least once, you can admit it, it's safe. You've cried in your closet at least once, like, oh my God, I've got dinner with my husband and nothing fits and I feel fat and everything's ugly and old in here. And you're like in a puddle. Or you've got a big meeting at work and just nothing is working and you're going to be late. When you have staples, it's like, you know what? Just put on your little freaking black dress and put on some lipstick and get out the damn door. Put on your suit that fits. and go.
My meltdown is always at religious services because they're we only go like once a year. And then, you're being around all these other really judgy religious people. So I'm like, I'm going to look like a slut. What do I have that's like religious? I don't have, but you're right. I mean, we've all been there, whatever the occasion was, in that moment of just, you're sitting on the floor with 45 minutes of like clothes to put back on hangers. When you come home, that you got to look forward to.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So where can listeners get a copy of the book? Is it out now and accessible?
The book is out now. It's everywhere books are sold. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore.
I love it.
Yeah.
And are you still taking clients for courses?
Yeah. So I have, I've got a couple different ways that I work with clients. I've got a membership called Style Confidence Collective. And in there is a little mini course on how to get your style in order. And we've got a community of amazing women. We've got our book club. We've got growth exercises. Just like it's a level up community where we care about the deep things and we care about style too. So we've got that. And then a couple times a year, I offer a group coaching program called Beyond Style. And this is a 6-week transformational journey inside and outside. And it's kind of mind blowing. It's everything I listed out. So in 2019, just quick story, I was feeling really stuck. When you're just like, nothing seems to be going right. You're like, my life is good, but it's also trash. It was one of those moments. And I was having a little pity party and I'm like, wait, if I was able to pull myself out of like the depths of the hell of my 20s and like totally turn my life around, I can get out of a 2019 blip. So I wrote down like every transformational thing I had done for myself, biggest takeaways from seminars, biggest takeaways from books, coaches, style, everything. And I was like, I'm going to challenge myself to completely turn my life around in 6 weeks. So I took everything like a little mad scientist and I only made it for myself just to see if I could get myself out of the hole, and it worked. So since then, at the time of this recording, I've taken over 45 women through it. It was just small groups and me, and dude, their lives changed. Like,
love it.
They change. So be on the lookout for that because I only open it a few times a year because it takes a lot of my time to coach these women. But it's awesome.
Like, what a rewarding path, though. It has to feel that you're making something really impactful from, where you came as a stylist and studying fashion design and working, retail, into transforming lives and really making a difference. And this is like the ripple effect. I mean, all of the people that those people are going to touch and encounter will be benefited by the work that you're doing with them, in your own work, and challenging women time and time again to continue to be on the path. So it's really beautiful.
It drives me crazy. I think this is where my love of style and just helping people comes from. It drives me crazy when I see women not living up to their full potential. Because some people, like we said, they're just asleep and they're cool with that. Like, enjoy sleepy time. Maybe next lifetime, it'll be time for you to be awake. But the women where you're like, oh, you have so much more in you, but you're squashing it down because your mom said something to you when you were 7 and your teacher didn't believe in you. Like, it drives me crazy. So I want them to step into their purpose, embody their badass self, and like go take over the world and have that ripple effect. So I can just sit back and be like, ooh, I played a small role in your epic life. I love that.
It's really powerful. I mean, my mission of reframing this idea of what a good mom looks like and being like, you really can set down the mom guilt, right? Guilt, had a therapist tell me, is like, would you order that from a menu at a sandwich shop? Like, I'll have a turkey club and a side of guilt. No, nobody wants that, right? Like, it's not helping anybody it's not helping your kids because you feel guilty that you didn't make it to soccer. It's not helping you. And so giving women and mothers a permission to be like, show up as like good enough and be like, yeah, I'm good enough. Like, that's awesome. Like that, you could totally reframe that.
Right.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, guys, check out Style Therapy, 30 Days to Your Signature Style with Lauren Messiah. It has been an absolute blessing to chat with you. I really appreciate it.
So fun. Thank you so much.